I have always loved art, so of course for my inquiry topic, I wanted to focus on art. I have gathered so much information, and all that information has been put under so many names, just because I didn't know what to do. It wasn't until I made this film that I realized what I had actually researched. Now, to understand the meaning of art, one must understand the history of the craft, what's actually depicted, and most importantly, the artists themselves. Now, the history is important because it tells you how the craft originated and also how it is compared to now. In the past, people made art for themselves, not so they could sell it and earn money. That's why they were so careful with what they made. Everything was made to show off their own skill and to also bless their children with. If you look carefully at some of the pieces, you see why they're so elegant and graceful. Each color is carefully thought out and chosen to show the correct level of gradients and beauty. Even the materials are good. They're all made from silk. Some of the newer pieces show no level of thinking and skill on the part of color and gradients. It just feels like it's attacking your sight. The materials are bad too, made from scraps of leftover fabric. Even if the older pieces are not as detailed or easy to tell what the subject is, they still manage to make it beautiful because of the overall attentiveness to art that they had. Now, art wouldn't be art if you didn't know what was actually on the piece. The things most often depicted are plants and animals. To the people at the tie-dye factory, it doesn't really matter what kind of plants are on, as long as it looks pretty and nice. That's why they're depicted marijuana leaves and other colorful things that weren't part of the traditional art. In a few pieces of embroidery, they're showed meihua, plum blossom, and other small flowers that showed beauty. There also included peaches and peonies. This also included water lilies, and well, just basically anything that they could find that had any artistic value at all. Animals were also very important as well. This included fish, butterflies, cranes, even bugs, as long as they were beautiful or could be abstractly beautiful. The most important thing to understanding any kind of art at all is to understand the artists themselves. I've met a lot at my time here. Mr. Duan and Mrs. Yang were the most helpful in terms of tie-dye because they owned the tie-dye factory together. Unfortunately, they had no real love for art. Most of the things they did was to attract tourists and earn money. As long as the art looked like it was supposed to be and was pretty, they were fine with it. They did know how to appreciate art though, and they both lamented on how art has changed from quality to quantity over the years. Mrs. Yang was also another person that worked at the tie-dye factory. She said she had worked there for over 50 years. She had stopped going to school at a very young age so that she could stay home and learn how to embroider and sew with her mother. She never really liked it though. When I asked her what her favorite thing to sew or embroider was, she said it was little things like sewing on buttons because it was easy. Another person that helped me was Mr. Lee, who owned an antique shop. He owned many pieces of embroidery, which ranged from 100 to 150 years ago to just 2 years ago. Even though Mr. Lee didn't really make any handicrafts, I considered him a true artist because he understood what it meant to be an artist. He not only knew a lot about the history, but also about the skills it takes to be one. This particular piece from his shop may not look very grand, but when looking closer you could see that it took much skill to make it. The owners had cut off the edges because they didn't understand how much culture it had within it. Mr. Lee was very upset about this, and you could even see the shame in his eyes. He complained about how now people had no skill and everything was messy and vivid for the tourists. There was no elegance at all. In Mr. Lee's shop, I not only learned the skills it takes to be an artist, but also what being an artist means to me. During these few weeks, I've learned so much about the history of art, the depictions of art, and also about the people who make the art. I have wandered around wondering what my inquiry topic actually was until this very moment making this film. I have done so many things, and it was all because of one thing my subconscious was asking me my entire life. What does it mean to be an artist?